Now, I want to talk about the nanny state. And I've told the story before, but I'll tell it briefly so there's congruity here in this piece we're doing right now. 7 years ago, I'm at La Madeleine restaurant here in Austin with my wife and my son. I go to the bathroom, come back out. There's a big crowd of people yelling, call 911, call 911. I go over. People are pushing on me, trying to stop me from giving the Heimlich maneuver with a woman turning purple laying on the table. By then, she was on the table, starting to pass out. I did the Heimlich, came out, and some were angry at me for helping her, saying, you should have waited for the police, should have waited for the EMS. Others were saying, you're a hero. I told my wife we're not finishing our food. If I broke a rib or something, which I didn't, she may sue us. Let's get out of here. Gerald Celente, trends forecaster, told the same story, similar. He said, is there a doctor in the house? Big restaurant. Woman's choking. Or it was a man choking in that case. I had him on a month ago. I was telling the story, and he said the same thing happened to him. And no one would help the person, so he did the Heimlich. And it turned out there was a doctor there, but because of liability, he didn't want to help. And you see the cases every few days in the news, all over Europe, all over the U.S. and Canada. A cop a few years ago got hit for over an hour plus. He laid on the side of the road bleeding to death at one of the busiest thoroughfares. It's the corner of William Cannon and I-35. No one helped him till cops came by. You see the cases of a woman being mugged or stabbed, bleeding to death for 4 hours in Toronto. How did we go from being people that would help each other to people that will drive on by an old lady being mugged? The idea that the police are specialists and it's their job to protect you is a fraud. The courts have ruled they have no liability to protect you that will respond after a crime has been committed to carry out justice. Now, they try to protect you, but depending on the state, 6 to 12 minutes, depending on the city, for 911 to be able to respond. And every few days, I know you see the stories too, we read about a woman or a young man, normally Chicago, New York, L.A., where people are taught to not own guns or where they can own guns in some of these cities. Someone will bust in. You've all heard the 911 tapes. He's coming. He's got a knife. They're like, where are you? What street is it? And the cops show up 15 minutes later, and you're gutted and dead, and the guy gets away. We need to find our humanity again. Get off the bench. Stop being spectators to our own destruction or others' destructions. You need to go out, buy firearms, take shooting lessons, learn how to use it. And look, having an alarm is fine. I've got an alarm. I've actually got 2 alarms, and I got cameras on my house because, I get a lot of death threats and stuff. And every once in a while, a tree will bang into a window and the alarm goes off. I get out of bed. I go to the instant access pistol safe right by the bed. 2 seconds, pops out, and I walk out and walk around the house, secure the perimeter, and find out what happened. I can't imagine being somebody in England where I read the articles every few months where somebody breaks in a house, is attacking them, the homeowner stabs them with a butcher knife, or in one case, pushes the guy out a 2-story window, he breaks his legs, and the police charge them. They want you to lay there and take it. And they're not worried about criminals. They're not worried about open borders. They're not worried about any of this. They're worried about citizens thinking they have a right to defend themselves, which you do. It's a God-given, basic, common sense right. And even in Texas, every few weeks I see stories about a woman being raped or killed or attacked, and where the guy breaks down the door, she locks her bedroom door, calls 911, and gets raped or killed. It's time for women to stop being victims. It's time for women to buy firearms. It's time for men to buy firearms. I have 2 daughters. One of them's 5, already knows how to shoot, and shoot good. My son knows how to shoot. This is so fundamental, and it's the same spirit of let a woman choke, call 911 when the average person will die in 4.5 minutes from asphyxiation. It's the same reason we let somebody else fight the banks, or somebody else fight the UN, or somebody else fight the healthcare takeover, or somebody else. Look, we've been right about it all. The UN takeover, the global banks, the surveillance, the staged terror, the police state, how they're going to use the military against the American people, the federalization of police, all this legislation to secretly arrest citizens and even torture us. I had Judge Napolitano going over it earlier. It's in the legislation that Lindsey Graham's introduced. Obama saying he has the power to shut the internet down over cybersecurity. Cass Sunstein, his regulations are saying that they want to shut down conspiracy theories. And he lists people that say man-made global warming isn't real. Anthropogenic global warming. I mean, there are tyrants, bona fide, signed, sealed, and delivered, certified. There is no doubt that every other nation on earth has fallen to tyranny in the past. We are falling. It doesn't have to happen. And that's why I'm so excited that not just people on the street or people that didn't like me in the past, but major radio executives, some of the biggest in the country, have called me in the last 2 weeks and have said, you are absolutely right about all this. We can't believe this is happening. We're going to try to figure out ways to get you on more stations nationwide. But the owners and shareholders of these companies are globalist. But we know we don't have any future. That's why you hear Limbaugh saying, New World Order, world government, New World Order. They want your guns. They may cancel the election. They may bring in martial law. In fact, can you cue up that Savage clip from earlier, and then we'll go to the Brinks clip? They can't, listen, most people aren't government operatives in media. There are some, and that's come out in congressional hearings, that kind of set the ball rolling and put out the talking points. Most of them go according to what they think's popular, and, oh, if it's a conspiracy theory to talk about a global government bank takeover plan, I better not talk about it even as it's happening. But now people are realizing this is a hot, oppressive, serious tyranny. This isn't something you can just stand back and go along with. Did you find it? Let's play a clip of Savage telling it like it is. Here it is. For some reason, this only ever happens in the fourth hour that the clips don't work. You know, we'll try to play that towards the end of the show. Let's go ahead and play. Let's go ahead and play this Brinks clip. We're going to get this Brinks clip queued up here in a minute or so, because I've been seeing these Brinks ads over and over and over and over and over again, where it shows kids in danger with their mother. There's never a man in the house, because half the country doesn't even have men in the house now. They're domesticating us, bringing us into bondage scientifically. Or if there is a man in the house, they cower with the wife and children, and the alarm goes off, and Brinks calls and tells them they've called 911. You know, you can't even call 911 yourself. Brinks calls them for you. Or there's a guy at a party, and nobody knows who he is, and he tries to break in later. These women go and cower and talk to Brinks on the phone. Now, I'm not saying it's bad to have an alarm. I think it's good. The problem here is that they're never show you that the woman goes and gets a gun, as they do every day in this country, and blast the criminal. Okay, so it's now Broadview, and I'm not bashing Brinks here, but these are anti-male ads targeting single women. And, I mean, it's fine to have the Brinks to know somebody's breaking in, but isn't it better to have a firearm instead of cowering in fear? Now, I want to go to Matt Ryan. And Matt Ryan, over the weekend, they called the Austin Police Department 5 times. This happened to his wife's niece. This guy has been convicted before for assaulting people. He said he was coming over to attack her with a chain. He did it, beat her bloody, and the police would never come. Now, again, somebody calls and says, I'm coming over to your house with a chain. I'm going to tell them I'm going to defend myself. I advise you against it, but I'll be waiting. And if they start knocking the door down, I'm going to kill them. But again, talking to Matt's pro-Second Amendment, but this extended family of his is not. And so they're more afraid of guns than they are of people attacking them. Matt Ryan, tell us what happened.
All right. Basically, to go to the end of the story first, we did have to chase the guy off. Police showed up 20 minutes after he'd already left. But a couple hours before, around 5 p.m., we made a call to APD, said we're getting threatening calls. This guy says he's going to come over here, violent intentions. He's not kidding around. He's already on probation for assault. He's got a record. Please send somebody over. The police said there's nothing they can do. We get another call about 10 minutes later. I called them myself. The operator...
So he says, I'm coming to assault you. He's got, 3 arrests for this. He's on probation. You're telling him this. This goes on for 2 hours.
Right. And the second time I called, the operator said, we already have him in custody because of another domestic dispute across town that went on during that time. And I thought that was a little funny because we had just gotten off the phone with him. Well, he called 10 minutes later, so that operator was incorrect in assuring us that he was in custody.
But again, they know they have no liability to protect you.
Exactly. He keeps calling, and essentially we have to call 3 times. On the 4th time, we're told, finally, an officer's on his way. We'll have him out there in a few minutes. About 20 minutes later, he shows up, catches our niece. She had just pulled up in the driveway. She was getting out of her car.
He'd probably been waiting.
Right. He assaults her, and we have to fight him off. We fought him off. He starts driving down.
Oh, so you went over there to protect her.
Right. Well, basically the whole family rushed out. We were told stay indoors, but when we saw her pulling up, saw that happen.
Again, the police say stay indoors, yeah.
Exactly. We rush out. We fight the guy off, and he escapes. 10 minutes later, they arrive and say, you know, we couldn't find him. I was busy handling his other problem downtown.
And he probably won't even get in trouble with the probation officer.
Right. And here's a guy who has warrants, active warrants. He's on probation. He's got a rap sheet a mile long.
But the police were too busy last weekend doing a roundup for parking tickets. They call it a roundup.